perhaps one of the most effective things for an enemy to do is to convince you that he's not much of an enemy at all. Because you have time to brace yourself for an attack that you know is coming, but the most detrimental attack is the one that you didn't see happening at all. It's one thing to know that you're afraid and to get into the ring and fight scared, but it's a completely different thing to waste your entire life never having realized that it was your own fears that robbed you of opportunities. It's something to get to the end of the road and realize he didn't break your heart. Your insecurities did, and you had wasted the entire relationship fighting the wrong enemy because you were looking for an intruder to hurt you when all along it was an inside job. The first thing that a doctor does for a bleeding patient is try to identify the source, because you can stop a bleed if you have a target, but you risk bleeding out if you can't identify where it's coming from or even recognize that it's happening at all. This is why people will spend their entire lives building relationships, but at an arm's length, like loving someone, but doing so from a distance. It's because I'm struggling to balance my desire to love and be loved with my fear of being hurt, because we all know the detrimental effects of being betrayed by someone on the inside. My husband and I recently moved across the country, and we had hired a moving company to come pick up all of our stuff in Washington and deliver it to our house in Georgia. And we had no idea that the people that we believed to be movers were actually thieves, and they took all of our stuff. They literally wiped us clean. And I thought, how crazy is it that I spent so much of our resources investing in alarms, door locks, all types of fancy contraptions to prevent robbery, only to find that I had still lost what was mine because I had misrecognized the enemy, expecting it to be someone on the outside, never having realized that it was someone dwelling in my own home. See, Jesus touches on this in Matthew chapter 7, verses 3-4. He's giving his iconic Sermon on the Mountain, and he's speaking to the crowd. He says, "Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? Like, how can you say to your brother, 'Let me take the speck out of your eye,' when all along there is a plank in your own eye?" In other words, the dysfunction that I see in you resonates with the dysfunction that I failed to recognize in me. And we start to create conflicts with others to refrain from having to deal with the conflict within ourselves. Because it is easy to direct energy when you are aware of the target, but who do I blame when the fight is against something in me? It requires you to move from blame to accountability. Who are you blaming for the insufficiencies that you're struggling to recognize within yourself? See, I'm only triggered by the sawdust in you because it is familiar to the plank that exists in me. We are literally cut from the same cloth, and I can't expect to heal you from the very things that I have yet to heal in me. But there's good news here, right? Like, although your triggers aren't someone else's responsibilities, they don't have to be your responsibility either. They belong to God. And when Jesus died on the cross, I love that he said, "It is finished." He didn't specify what it is, because no matter what enemy it is, like low self-esteem, doubt, fear, anxiety, it is no match for God. He has never lost a battle, and this one is no different.